Hola, hola, and buenos dias, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks, and this is Week in Crypto, brought to you here on the Gem of Crypto Network. And yeah, like I said, I'm Trek. And if you don't know, the basic idea here is I cover the crypto news that is Friday to Sunday. My thing is, there are things that happen, there are events, there's news stories that come out that sometimes are indicators of either something new starting or something closing, or confirmation of a pattern, right? And so sometimes these things come out on the weekend, and or additional information comes out on the weekend that may be relevant to what's going on within the traditional finance world, TradeFi, as well as what's going on in the crypto space, as we see for companies and personalities and things along that line. And hopefully I say something that's relevant to what is going on in your operational environment. If you haven't heard what that if you haven't heard that phrase before, I mean, outside of military folks, I guess you really wouldn't hear it. But the basic idea is I cover this weekend stuff, and I try to put it in context to like the everyday average Joe person, and hopefully some of this stuff that comes across my radar and piques my attention makes sense to y'all as I correlate these things. Other thing to note before I jump into these stories: I am not a CPA. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some guy on the internet who, does this segment here on the Gentleman of Crypto, and I've been in the space for a minute. So it means basically you got to do your own due diligence and do not take my word for it, right? This is just me putting things together how I do in my mind. If some of it makes sense to you, I hope it does get you to start questioning things that are related to what's going on in your life, in your bank account, in your, home and whatever environment. So yeah, let's move forward. Yeah. All right. So first story is crypto sleuth Zach XBT receives over $1 million in donations following the defamation lawsuit. So I just want to say hand clap and shout outs to that dude for being in the trenches as far as the whole community policing thing. And it's really been notable that the community looked out for him. CZ even gave some donations, and so did Justin's son. This is a good thing. If we have more people doing like honest community policing, maybe this regulatory stuff wouldn't be going on like it's going on right now, and we could have kept the SEC and such folks in check. But it is what it is. But nonetheless, I just want to say shout out to that dude. Basically what it was he called somebody out, and he had the on-chain data to prove it. The person turned around and tried to sue him, and that's where it is right now. He did end up basically now he has the funds to be able to deal with the situation. But shout outs to him for the community policing. All right, so jumping on to this story here. Binance is under investigation in France for alleged money laundering. Oh, sorry, I my bad, y'all, I'm looking at two different screens. So this is this story here. Binance under investigation for alleged money laundering. So basically, we're going to throw the charge out there publicly, and then now it is your job to defend, to say that you are not doing that. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I think that there is a level of collusion going on because of how it is just like a 1 week to the next there's some new story coming out, right? Case in point, the story from last week about Binance in Nigeria. It turns out that was not actually the Binance hub in Nigeria. It was a company that did a licensing. They did a LLC name thing. And so what I find that, I'm not going to run down that story itself, but note that anything that has Binance on it is being targeted, is my point. That's my point of what is kind of getting me. And again, they're throwing out these allegations and saying, well, we think you did this. Like, case in point, right? Read this first line here. Crypto exchange Binance is under investigation by local authorities in France over the alleged illegal provision of crypto services and aggravated money laundering. I didn't know there was a difference between money laundering, aggravated money laundering, and like menacing money laundering, or like super money laundering. I don't even know what those mean, but apparently there is a difference because they added the word in and it counts as a higher level of charge, I guess, right? Bottom line, it's going to be a bumpy year for Binance. It's going to be a bumpy year. I do think there's more at play in this situation than what is being written about in such forums as the Block or even Cointelegraph. Like the main crypto news things, I think there's more going on behind the scenes than what they're aware of, as well as like what they're even able to cover, right? Um, and it definitely does seem like there's a level of like, hey, we got to jump this fool right here, and it's being done on a global scale, which is also interesting to note. Like, there's no Asian jurisdictions up in arms about Binance right now. Like, if you're not up in arms in South Korea, Japan, and I'm gonna say who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? You know, I'm gonna stick with those two. Like, their regulatory framework for crypto and exchanges is like top tier, right? If they not flipping shit, what's going on over in the West? I'm just saying, that's my thought process right there. Like, love it or hate it, debate me on it. It's cool. The comments are open. You know, we don't delete. We do keep receipts though, and you know I be in the lives with King and Zay the Monday through Friday at the 10ish hour. So if you think I'm wrong, it's cool. You can see me then in the live and be like, yo, you was way off on what you just said about the Binance situation. Cool. I'm just saying, I think there's a collusion going on and it's targeting. So moving on to this next story. All right, U.S. government gets sued over allegedly seizing $100 million in cash, gold, and jewelry from citizens without explanation. Here's a funny thing to note. When I first seen this story, I was like, well, why does this sound familiar? Why does this sound familiar? Because Ken Sturgeon covered this a couple months ago. This case actually happened in 2021. The lawsuit, I think, got filed back then, but things are coming up now. Granted, the way this article is written does not give it full context or scope. It doesn't. I will also note, though, I noticed that Daily Hodl is starting to get more into TradFi in that they're covering these traditional finance situations. But what I don't like how their authors are working, and this is just me myself, they're not giving the correlation in context to the crypto community of users and what this traditional side means and how it could impact or affect this crypto side. And there's a reason why I bring this up, because of a couple other stories that are also in this rotation or this episode. And it'll be more apparent as I go forward, right? So let me read this first line. The government won't specify why it abruptly seized more than $100 million from people's safety deposit boxes in California, according to a lawsuit. Also, thing to note, they don't name the bank in this article, and I do not remember who was the bank. Most people would think, oh, it's in a safety deposit box. Like, they can't open that. I promise you, they can, they are, and they will, because the Dodd-Frank Act, along with a couple of other things, and I'm going to say the Dodd-Frank Act was like the nail in the coffin for the government to be able to do things that 15, 20 years ago, in regards to retail, regular, everyday personal banking, was unfathomable and very illegal. Today, though, we in a whole different time. And I think that there's other things playing out here that aren't being put in context, or at least being given a level of relevance to be like, well, maybe this might be kind of connected, not directly, but it's a knock-on effect. And I'm gonna say something a little bit later on as to why I think there's some knock-on effect stuff going on. So next thing here is Linda and Reggie Martin want to know why the FBI took their cash along with the contents of the contents of hundreds of other people's safety deposit boxes from a financial storage company in Beverly Hills in March of 2021. Now, there's no, hey, it was about you did something illegal. It wasn't that. And excuse me, for those of you who don't know about what civil forfeiture is, which is in this next paragraph, let me jump down into that one, so I can wrap up this piece. So, using civil forfeiture, the government decides for itself whether to take and try and keep property, even when it doesn't suspect the owner of any crime. Then, the FBI sends a copy and paste forfeiture notices that fail to tell owners anything about why it is trying to take their property. This is not only wrong, it's unconstitutional. Well, it's funny how we run around and throw these words of like constitutional, unconstitutional around, right? Last week, the Supreme Court gave the win to the IRS to be able to go, hey, I'm trying to figure out what is going on with this person's financial situation, and I can only see a little bit of their banking stuff. I can't see enough of what their financial footprint looks like, but I noticed that they continually do business at this, or they continually have a payment that goes to this dry cleaning business, or they continually send a wire transfer to their cousin. I'm going to go to the cousin's bank or the dry cleaner's bank and be like, hey, I need you to give me all of their financial information. What do you mean? The IRS now has the official blessing of the Supreme Court to be able to indirectly get other people's financial information in order to get at you. If you are financially connected to somebody with one transaction, two transaction, guess what? They now are at risk, especially if you're doing some shady shit, to be able to open up their financial stuff in order to get at you. And then the bank, I don't know if the bank isn't supposed to tell them or doesn't have to tell them, but the point being is it was done and the bank didn't tell the person it was done to because they were going after somebody else. And then the argument was, well, how am I supposed to defend myself in court if I don't know you're taking legal action against me? That wasn't the part that was covered in the case. It was the IRS does have the right to do this. So now where does this relate to the FBI? The FBI was already doing stuff like this before 2021. It just so happened that these folks in particular was like, oh, no. We're going to go to court about this. Now, this article doesn't say, what happened as far as where's the case in the court appeal process or any of that. It is just these people are alleging. Here's where I'm like, yo, cap on Daily Hodl, because this story is more than a year old. They're just catching up. And then they're also not putting it in context to get people to understand there is not any legal succinct framework that covers crypto wallets and crypto exchanges that is on par with the Dodd-Frank Act and a couple of other bills that are now law, as well as the AML and the transportation and the KYC stuff that is on par for crypto wallets like it is for traditional banking, for traditional financial instruments. That's why this whole argument about like, hey, we need to have regulations, we need to have better thing from the SEC and FinCEN, and we need the regulators to do blah, blah, blah. What they're really arguing for is we need to have better definitions that make the controls of the traditional finance world and traditional law enforcement jurisdiction be more effective and translate better in application in the crypto space. That's what's really being argued. In my opinion, let me say that in my opinion, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor. But when I look at the behavior and I look at the pattern of behavior and I look at the indicators of what these things could mean, it seems to me that that's what's being done. They want to expand the traditional financial rules and regulations and jurisdictions into the crypto space in order to be able to do things like this. Now, I'm going to go to another story. Sorry for that ramble. Before I get to that story, though, I got this Uniswap story. Two things came to my mind on this Uniswap story that initially I wasn't sure about until, one came first and then the other came. So the story title is this, right? Uniswap is open source. Why are developers mad? So this AI thing really had me starting to question what open source means in the 2020 plus era, right? In that there's a lot of centralized players behind a lot of this open source stuff that's being pushed out, but it's not being identified that way, right? So the same thing is going on in the crypto space. It has been going on for a while. So we have the thing of where people are saying, oh, well, it's a DeFi platform. It's decentralized finance. Is it though? Because it's a centralized company that owns it, right? They have the ability to cut you off at the front end. They have the ability to tell you, well, you didn't KYC with us. You can't use this anymore. And you can't have access to your assets anymore, to your crypto, right? So is it really DeFi? So in this scenario here, they're releasing V4 of the Uniswap, base code stuff. But what they're doing is they're like, well, we got 4 years where we're going to exclusively have rights to it. No one else can use it for production or commercial purposes. Where we at? Let me get to that. Here we are. So Uniswap has chosen to use the business source license 1.1 in V4, continuing what they did with V3. The BSL license, which is really weird how that is that they're using the word license twice in a sentence. But anywho, will allow Uniswap to exclusively use their innovation for the next 3 years. Although the license grants the public access to the code and allows the copying, modification, and redistribution of said code, it does not. The code could not be used for commercial or production purposes for a period of up to 4 years. So here's what's happening. Here's what's really going on. The people who want to do the commercialization of open source tools, right? Algorithmic tools are like, yo, this is bullshit. Y'all are doing a market lockout. Like, we know we're moving towards the halvening, and there's going to be a hell of a market pump, and you guys are doing a market lockout on the technology. That's messed up, right? Because if you're a formal business, you're not going to try to run and do something with this code and then end up in a lawsuit with them. So that's one thought process. The other thought process I had was, oh, so y'all are doing this boxing out with a sunset clause of 4 years. What is possibly going to happen that you think y'all could get out in 4 years? Is it going to be a legislative thing that works in their favor, or is it that they're trying to sell the company in 4 years? And this is just we need to get all of our value out of the company and the market so that the investors, the VCs, the shareholders, not the shareholders, but the VCs can get their money out, the founders can get their bag, and then like we're going to wash, rinse, and repeat and do something else in a different name and brand. As far as the folks who can't monetize the code for the next 4 years, y'all just shit out of luck. And I say this on the end of the other thought I had was, are they also questioning Reggie Middleton's lawsuits with them about IP infringement on the patents that he has in the U.S. and in Japan for distributed ledger technology, aka or the next level down of DeFi, decentralized finance, right? He has it. There's numbers for it. Go check out his Twitter. Go look at his YouTube channel if you don't believe me. If you disagree with me, it's totally cool. I just know that those patents exist. And I think that, in my opinion, I don't know anybody at Uniswap. So, and I haven't talked to Reggie about this because I literally just seen this weekend. I think they're running the clock. And it's another example of, yo, we got to exit out of here because this market isn't going to do too well for us, and what our business model is, it's not sustainable. That's at least how I'm looking at it. I could be way wrong. Let's see. Am I way wrong? Time will tell. Again, we don't delete comments. So if you think I'm way off and talking out my ass, comments is open. You can check me in the live come Monday around 10 or Tuesday or Wednesday all the way up until Friday. I promise you. Jumping into this next story. Where we at? Where you go? All right, so this story, I do believe there are always canary in the coal mines, right? And I don't necessarily see this guy as being like altruistic. I'm a canary in the coal mine. I think there's other things going on because, again, Daily Hodl is really scouring the internet of other people's original content in order to make content for the website, which means the market is really crap right now. For those of you who are price talk people, the market is really crap right now because they're scouring other sectors to write stuff over here and then not giving you the context, in my opinion, of how it relates to the crypto markets, right? So here we have it, that this dude who used to, God, I don't know how to say his last name. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, but I'm gonna say it, Balaji, warns Apple, Microsoft, or Google could help government seize crypto from citizens. Now, I'm gonna tell a story for those of you who are old enough to remember the '08 recession and the housing bubble thing, and how there was this whole big news blitz on, oh, we had no idea, no one knew, no one saw it coming, we couldn't even have imagined it. When there is literally on record and documentation of people in the Clinton administration going, yo, we're gonna have an issue. We see it being in the housing market. We need to do something to front run this or put it under control. The things that we came up with was kick the can down the road solutions. But the point being is there were people who said stuff. Now, in relation to this dude, right? So the former chief technology officer of Coinbase is warning that some prominent tech companies in the world could one day betray the American people. Okay. So we're going to talk about the original tech companies and not say nothing about the exchanges or the wallets, like Uphold or Coinbase, the company you used to work for. Case in point, Coinbase sells a service to the U.S. government that allows them to track and trace and catalog on-chain activity. Where's the conversation around that, good sir? You out here, and I'm not going to say gaslighting, because I definitely see this as a thing, but I'm going to say I don't think you're being altruistic in doing it for the good of the community and people. I also think that this was them going through, and if the podcast is the podcast I think it is, this was probably like a 2-hour conversation, and they took like maybe 2 or 3 snips of what the dude said. Again, you got to do your own due diligence and research on this stuff, and you got to be more cognizant, in my opinion, of when they start dangling certain people out in front of you. And are they giving it to you in context to what could possibly be in your operational environment or how you're perceiving what's going on in the space? Because like, as King is AB saying, by the time you see it in a news article, that means like either a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months could have already passed from the original event of that situation. Or we might be a couple of weeks, months, or years out of that situation. Again, as I'm saying to y'all, I'm trying to put these news stories in context to that they're event driven. Is this an indicator of something closing, stopping? Is this an indicator of something starting? Is this one more data point to add in to say, oh no, this is a pattern, this is a trend of a business, a government agency, a government, or a personality figure? That's how I'm trying to put these stories out to y'all. So I'm gonna read this last quote by him, and where he breaks it down. And again, like it all makes sense. And canary in the coal mine, like this is a situation. The biggest risk factor that is actually Apple, Google, and Microsoft, because they have operating system access. That's actually what I'm most concerned about. It is the fact that Apple has software updates and Google can get into Google Drive, and Microsoft has Windows. And if ordered by the state, in theory, they could scan your hard drive for private keys and then pull your digital assets. So I'm going to put a couple of contextual things in this. The free version of Google for Google Drive already scans anything that you upload to it. That's including your emails. Microsoft already does the same thing with your emails. So if you emailed yourself your private keys, you're fucked. If you put your private keys in storage on Google Drive, you're screwed. If you encrypted it and you're using the free version, I'm not 100% certain about the paid side of Google Drive. I know it has a different type of terms as a service compared to the free side. But the free side, they decrypt everything before they push it over into your drive, right? The other thing to note, We're not talking about, well, what about the other phone operators, right? The phone manufacturers. As far as, well, what does this mean? And then here's the other thing to understand. This thing of framing it in this nationalistic filter of, well, Americans. I remember a time in the crypto space when it was about like, yo, I'm about this economic sovereignty. I'm about, this economic freedom. And we didn't filter it in terms of like, well, where's your passport from? That wasn't a part of the exchange of, oh yeah, you in the crypto? Oh, I'm in the crypto. Like, oh, well, what was the way that you got in here? That's not how we did it. But more and more, especially since the C19 wave, I hear more of this filter framing of Americans, like U.S. citizens, and it's just like, but if this technology is all disruptive and open source and it's supposed to be inclusive, where is this filtering stuff coming from? I'm gonna not beat that racehorse. I think y'all kind of understand what I'm saying, and like, if y'all know, like King talk on the gang thing. I don't talk as much as the gang as King do, because we both kind of in the same camp on stuff. Even though he out, like I'm still in my ways. If you know me, you know what's up. But it's interesting to see this push of nationalistic framing of a us versus them when it was supposed to be about this financial freedom and your ability to move across borders. Borders did not matter in the space back in the day. Now, it's a different animal. Even though the technology works the way it works, people are being conditioned to think about it in these nationalistic ways that arguably kind of annoy me. But anywho, my point being is, I would put this guy as a canary in the coal mine, even though I don't think it's out of altruism, right? But it is an indicator when you look at other things going on in the U.S. and across the globe. So case in point, you can jump into this next story. Crypto payment firm Wire to shut down after a decade in business, citing market conditions. Like, if that ain't the PR statement of copy and paste, I don't know what is. That's a crappy title for the article, in my opinion. But, that's what they told y'all, and that's what y'all going to push to the public. Again, Daily Hodl is doing some things that I'm kind of like, what's going on over there? Is the market? Yeah, the market stuff is that bad. If you're a price talk person, if you're paying attention to like market sentiment and all that, like, yeah. But here's why I brought this up, because when I was reading this, it was one of those like, yo, wait, what? So here we go, right? Where's this line at? Here we go. So after nearly a decade, Wire is winding down. Due to market conditions, we made this decision to protect the best interests of our key stakeholders and customers. If he didn't have a mic in his face, he would have just said key stakeholders. Because if he didn't say customers and this story got put out, it could have possibly led to a let's say an institutional run on Wire. And it would have been the regular everyday person trying to get their stuff out. Now, I'm going to also say that you have until, the 14th of July. I don't feel like really reading the whole line, but you have until the 14th of July. After that point, they're going to close the doors, cut off all of the on-ramp points, and then you got to figure out whatever company or process they put out for the remainder people to be able to go through validating and proving that they were the ones who deposited those financial instruments, whether they were fiat or crypto related, on that platform. That's what's going to happen after the 14th. I think a couple of things here, considering what's going on, especially in the U.S. landscape, right? The American landscape is lawyers had conversations, accountants had conversations, stakeholders, VCs had conversations, and was like, hey, we want to get our stuff out. We need to make this move sooner than later. We don't want to get hit with any agency paperwork that would then freeze all of the accounts and activity. In my opinion, again, I'm just a guy on the outside looking at like a window shopping view of these things going on out here. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own due diligence and research. Look at who owns the company, who's the founder, who's the investors. Look at what's going on with the other companies that get caught up in a situation where they get hit with the legal paperwork, and then what that means for the people who have any type of money or asset on the platform. Remember, Celsius was the case that just solidified it that users of a platform are considered depositors in traditional banking stuff. So when an institution or a crypto-related platform goes under, if you had any kind of money in there, guess what? You're now in a different legal category, and you don't just get to, hey, I want my stuff back. It don't work like that. So that's the thing to understand about this situation. It also, to me, I'm gonna say this looks like an exit. I'm gonna say that this looks like whoever's on their back end, this looks like them like going, hey, we need to cut and run now. So I'm actually surprised they even gave a full month, honestly. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm surprised they gave a full month. Because, all right, well, we're short a couple of days of a month, but at this point, when the story like got pushed out like that, but I'm surprised they're actually giving that much time. So if you on there, you might want to start doing your own due diligence and figuring out what's going on and how you need to move going forward. And I'm gonna just leave that one there. All right, so this last story here. I'm gonna say the last story is this, right? So you see what this number is, right? You see what this number is. It's a lot of money. We're in the 79 billion plus number. That's how much money exited the bank supposedly in 1 week, right? Here's something that I've been saying for a while now. Right? When the economy and then the markets, especially on the crypto side, start looking funky and things are like slow as far as like news stories and stuff, they start and Daily Hodl is not the only one that does this. The other ones do it too. They start looking for things to then throw numbers at you, right? And then they put the numbers in a way where it's like, yo, like this is a lot of money. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. 803.73 billion. I could never see how much money that is because it is so much. Wow. Right? So you have it that they start throwing numbers at you. The question is this. This is how I'm going to frame this to y'all. If this much money is leaving the system, where is it going? Because in this article, it doesn't say anything about crypto. It doesn't say anything about an influx of fiat converting into crypto. It doesn't say anything about an influx of fiat moving into T-bills. It doesn't say anything about bonds. It doesn't say anything about housing. It doesn't say anything about the FTX market as far as like foreign exchange stuff. It doesn't say any of that. So the question is, what is the point of this article? Who are you signaling to? What are you trying to convey outside of, look at this big number, lots of money in America moved? I forgot who said this, but like, money is like energy. It is not destroyed because money represents wealth or value. It just moves from one form to the next. So again, if this much money has left the system, where it has to show up somewhere is my point. It has to show up somewhere. It cannot just disappear. It has to move into something else. And there has to be some level of noticeable change, because you don't just make that amount of money disappear is the point. So the question is, where is this? And why is it that the way this article is written, and again, link for this will be in the description so you can follow up if you want to, why aren't they actually clarifying like, hey, here's how this could relate to crypto? And honestly, if this much money left in a week and in a month, and we haven't seen no crazy moves in the space like that, you really gotta wonder, what are these people who are in the know, who are considered the smart money, who have the connections to be able to even move this amount of money? Because let you be a regular Joe Schmo trying to walk up in Bank of America talking about, hey, I want to pull out my 50,000. What? and definitely don't have a certain level of melanin in you, because then that turns into a whole nother situation. But the point being is something's going on, and for the things that are on my radar and the people that I pay attention to, this particular thing of this much money moving out of the system, this isn't just it happened a week ago. This has been more than a year in those folks noticing, hey, we're seeing money move out of the system. And this goes to the last thing that I'm gonna say, and then close it out. If you listen to me on the live streams and like the other weekend crypto stuff, I was talking about how China was doing the capital flight control thing last year, and I was talking about the OFAC report and all of that stuff, the WEF reports and all that. What I'm starting to put together now is Biden's executive order was the dog whistle for various agencies and departments at the federal, state, county, and city level to start figuring out ways to put in capital flight controls. Whether it's a new tax, whether it's an increase in some kind of tax or commodity thing, like case in point in Maryland, in Baltimore in particular, your BG&E, like the tax on that, the commodity tax thing could be crazy compared to what your actual usage is. Other thing to note is it's like you're gonna see more of these situations happen. Like I said, the IRS just won that case in the Supreme Court. We have this more than a year old story of what the FBI did out in California. That's not going to be the only place to have issue. That much I can see, right? Safety deposit boxes do not financially insulate you from when governments and agencies decide to start taking certain activities against its citizens. Like that's just the way the situation is. Don't fall for that narrative of like, well, no, it's in a safety deposit box and only I have the key. It means jack. I promise you that. But I'm not your CPA, I'm not your lawyer, and I'm not your financial advisor. Do your own due diligence and research. These articles are going to be in the description on this. Please do like, share, and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Yo, also hit King and Zay up and be like, yo, either you're going to tell him the dude Trekkw2ks is talking out his ass, or you're going to tell him like, yo, your man is definitely like, he been doing this thing, working hard. I would appreciate the positive conveyance of me working hard and like getting these things out here. But if you got some hate, see me in the live. If I'm talking out my ass, see me in the live. That's all I got to say on that one. Next thing is, what is it? Oh, we getting back on track for the Metaverse is the Other Side. Just dropped the joint with our 6-month recap conversation. And me and 3D, man, like, we be saying some things that I listen to now, and I'm just like, damn, bro, like, that's just coming out now in the market or in the space, like 3-6 months and so later. And we've been talking about these things like offline and like months back. But anywho, that's getting back in the rotation. So live stream, like the live recordings on Twitter Spaces is on Thursdays at 8 p.m. on the Builder DAO account. Link for this will be in the description too. And then the recordings play out on the weekend. I'm trying to keep it to the Saturday thing, midday kind of thing for the California folks and all of that. Appreciate y'all. And again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's still tapping in, who's not just, oh, I'm here for the price talk stuff. Y'all know I don't do price talk, but I appreciate everybody who's tapping in, who engages with me on the live streams, who, DMs and stuff and all of that goodness. Like, I appreciate the positive vibes and stuff, y'all. So I'm gonna close it out and say, have a productive over busy day. Other thing is, happy belated Father's Day for the folks who could get to enjoy it. For the folks who couldn't enjoy it, sorry. Like, this world is a screwy, annoying, kind of, effed up place at times. But happy Father's Day nonetheless. So as I say, productive over busy day. But the least thing I could do is say, if it's not productive, at least be in a safe place, in a safe space, and a good company. And that's the best thing I could wish to you as one human to the next. All right, y'all. 1.